Jack Morrison stood in the control room of New Haven Colony, staring at the numbers on his screen. The numbers were bad, very bad. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked again, hoping the display would show something different. It did not. The star that warmed their small moon was dying. Not in millions of years like most stars, but right now. In 3 days, maybe less, it would send out a burst of deadly energy that would kill everything on New Haven. The radiation would cook them all like food in an oven. Jack was the commander of New Haven Colony. 3,000 people lived here, worked here, called this place home. They had families, children, dreams of building something new on this distant moon. Now all of that would end in 3 days unless he could find a way to save them. He walked across the control room to where Lisa Bennett was working. Lisa was the best engineer on New Haven. If anyone could fix this problem, it would be her. But the look on her face told Jack everything he needed to know. "The shields won't hold," Lisa said without looking up from her work. "The solar flare is going to be 10 times stronger than anything our equipment can handle. Maybe 20 times stronger." Jack felt his heart sink. He had hoped their defensive systems could protect them. New Haven had good shields, better than most colonies, but they were built to stop small meteors and normal solar storms, not the massive burst of energy heading their way. "What about evacuation?" Jack asked. "Can we get everyone off the moon?" Lisa shook her head. "The transport ships were destroyed in the asteroid strike last month. Remember? We lost both of them when those rocks hit the landing pad. The replacement ships won't arrive for another 2 months," Jack remembered. It had been a terrible accident. Nobody saw the asteroids coming until it was too late. The 2 big ships that could carry people off New Haven were now twisted metal scattered across the colony grounds. They had smaller ships, workboats, and cargo haulers, but nothing that could carry 3,000 people to safety. "There has to be something," Jack said. "Some way to get help." Dr. Alan Cooper walked into the control room. Alan studied alien life forms and knew more about other species than anyone on New Haven. He had been listening to their conversation and looked worried. "We could send out a distress call," Alan said. "There are lots of advanced alien races in this part of the galaxy. The Zalanti Federation has fast rescue ships. The Korthak Empire has technology that could shield our entire colony. Even the Vale Consortium might help us, though nobody knows much about them." Jack felt a small spark of hope. "How long would it take for help to arrive?" "The nearest Zalanti world is only 18 light hours away," Alan said. "Their ships are fast. They could be here in less than a day if they wanted to help us." Lisa looked up from her equipment. "I can boost our transmitter. Send the message on every frequency the aliens use. Make sure everyone in the local systems hears our call for help." Jack nodded. "Do it. Send the message to everyone. Tell them we have 3,000 people who will die unless someone helps us. Tell them we can pay them back somehow." Lisa worked for the next 4 hours, pushing their communication equipment to its limits. She rerouted power from other systems and jury-rigged amplifiers to make their signal stronger. When she was finished, their distress call could reach hundreds of star systems. The message was simple and direct. Jack recorded it himself, speaking slowly and clearly so the alien translation computers would understand every word. "This is New Haven Colony in the Kepler 442 system," Jack said into the microphone. "We are humans. 3,000 of us live on the 3rd moon of this system. Our star is about to release a massive solar flare that will kill everyone here. We need immediate evacuation assistance. Our transport ships were destroyed and we cannot escape on our own. We will pay any price for help. Please respond if you can assist us." They sent the message out on dozens of different frequencies, repeating it every 10 minutes in multiple languages. Then they waited. The first response came from the Zalanti Federation 6 hours later. Jack felt excited when he saw their signal appear on the communication screen. The Zalanti were known to be reasonable people who often helped other species. "Message received and understood," the Zalanti response said. "We acknowledge your emergency situation. However, current Federation policy prohibits direct intervention in human colonial affairs. We regret that we cannot provide assistance at this time." Jack stared at the message in disbelief. Policy prohibited them from saving lives? What kind of policy was that? More responses came in over the next few hours. The Korthak Empire sent a message saying they were too busy with border disputes to help. The Rigel Trading Consortium said they did not have any ships in the area. The Vale Consortium did not respond at all. One by one, every advanced alien civilization in the region sent the same type of message. They had received the distress call. They understood that 3,000 people would die, but they all had reasons why they could not help. Policy restrictions, resource allocation problems, territorial disputes, prior commitments. Jack could not believe what he was hearing. These were advanced species with incredible technology and vast resources. Saving 3,000 people would be easy for any of them, but none of them wanted to do it. 17 different species have responded, Lisa reported as she monitored the communications. All of them said no. Dr. Cooper looked confused and angry. This does not make sense, he said. The Zelanti helped the Arcturus colony just last year when they had problems. The Korthak have rescue ships stationed all over this sector of space. Why won't any of them help us? Jack did not have an answer. He walked to the window and looked out at New Haven colony. People were going about their normal lives, working in the factories, tending the hydroponic gardens, teaching their children in the schools. They did not know yet how bad things were. Jack had not told them about the solar flare because he hoped help would come. Now it looked like no help was coming. Keep sending the message, Jack told Lisa. Maybe someone else will respond. But as the hours passed and more rejections came in, Jack began to lose hope. The aliens had made their decision. 3,000 human lives were not worth the trouble of sending a rescue mission. Jack was about to give up when Lieutenant Danny Walsh called out from his station. "Commander, I'm picking up something strange," Danny said. "It's not on the main frequencies. It's coming through on the emergency channels, very weak signal." "What kind of signal?" Jack asked. Danny adjusted his controls, trying to clean up the transmission. "It looks like it's coming from a fusion drive ship, maybe more than one. The technology looks primitive compared to the alien ships." Jack felt his pulse quicken. Fusion drives meant human technology, but what human ships would be way out here in this distant system? The signal cleared up enough for them to hear voices speaking in English with Earth accents. Jack could hardly believe what he was hearing. "New Haven Colony, this is Captain Ryan Davis of the Earthship Defiance," the voice said through the static. "We received your distress call. We are en route to your position. Estimated arrival time is 14 hours. Hold on. We're coming to get you." For a moment, nobody in the control room said anything. They had sent their plea to the entire galaxy, and the only ones who answered were humans. 3 ships came out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. They were not beautiful ships like the sleek vessels the aliens built. These ships looked rough and worn, like they had been built from spare parts and held together with hope and determination. The biggest ship was called Defiance. It had thick armor plating welded over what used to be a cargo hauler. Extra engines had been bolted to the sides and weapon systems stuck out at odd angles. The ship looked dangerous but also fragile, like it might fall apart if pushed too hard. Next to Defiance flew a smaller ship called Liberty Bell. This one had started life as a mining vessel. Its hull was scarred from years of work in asteroid fields, and its cargo bays had been converted into living spaces. The third ship was even smaller, a research vessel named Pioneer. It carried scientific equipment and had been modified with extra fuel tanks for long journeys. Captain Ryan Davis sat in the command chair of Defiance and looked at the readings on his screen. The news was not good. The solar storm building in the system's star was worse than he had expected. Much worse. "Captain, I'm getting readings from New Haven Colony," said his communications officer, Lieutenant Carol Martinez. "They have 3,000 people down there, and the solar flare will hit in less than 18 hours. Ryan felt his stomach drop. 18 hours was not much time. His 3 ships could carry maybe 800 people if they packed everyone in tight. That meant leaving more than 2,000 people behind to die. "Get me the other ship captains," Ryan said. A few minutes later, Captain Greg Johnson of Liberty Bell and Dr. Mary Williams of Pioneer appeared on his communication screen. Greg was an old cargo runner who had been hauling supplies to frontier colonies for 20 years. Mary was a scientist who explored unknown worlds looking for new forms of life. "You both heard the situation," Ryan said. "We can't carry all of them. Not even close." Greg Johnson rubbed his beard and looked tired. "My ship can take maybe 300 people if we strip out the cargo holds and pack them in like sardines. But that leaves my crew sleeping in the engine room." Dr. Williams shook her head. "Pioneer wasn't built for passengers. I could fit maybe 100 people if I throw out all my research equipment and laboratory gear." Ryan did the math in his head. Even if they pushed their ships to the limit, they could save less than 1,000 people. The rest would die when the solar flare hit. We have to try, Ryan said. Get your ships to the colony. We start evacuation immediately. The 3 human ships flew toward New Haven Colony as fast as their engines could push them. On the surface, Commander Jack Morrison watched them approach and felt both hope and despair. Help had come, but it might not be enough. When the ships reached orbit, Ryan called down to the colony. New Haven, this is Captain Davis. We're here to get you out. How many people can you have ready for immediate evacuation? All 3,000 of us, Jack replied. But your ships look too small to carry everyone. Ryan looked around his command bridge. His crew was already working to prepare for the evacuation. Chief Engineer Sam Parker was stripping out everything they did not absolutely need. Life support equipment, crew quarters, storage compartments, even the ship's kitchen was being torn apart to make room for more people. We'll make room, Ryan said. Start sending people up. Women and children first. The evacuation began immediately. Shuttle after shuttle flew up from New Haven Colony carrying frightened families. The colonists had been told about the solar flare and knew they had to leave everything behind. They brought only the clothes on their backs and held their children tight. On Defiance, Sam Parker worked with his engineering team to modify the ship. They removed walls between rooms to create larger spaces. They took out furniture and equipment that was not essential for keeping the ship running. Every spare inch of space was converted into room for people. Captain, we're pushing the life support systems past their limits, Sam reported. We have 400 people on board and the air recycling system is struggling. Ryan looked at the readings. The ship was designed to support a crew of 50 people for long journeys. Now they had 8 times that number breathing the same air. The system was overloaded and failing. Reduce the oxygen levels, Ryan ordered. Make it thin but breathable. We only need to keep everyone alive for the journey to safety. The same thing was happening on the other ships. Captain Johnson had removed entire sections of Liberty Bell's interior to make room for evacuees. His cargo holds were packed with people sitting on the floor, sharing water bottles and trying to stay calm. The ship's life support systems were running at dangerous levels, but they were holding. Dr. Williams had made the biggest sacrifice of all. Pioneer carried years of her scientific research, samples from dozens of worlds and equipment worth millions of credits. She ordered all of it thrown out the airlocks to make room for people. Her life's work drifted away into space so that strangers could live. As the evacuation continued, something amazing happened. The colonists saw humans working together in ways they had never imagined. Crew members gave up their own beds so families could sleep together. Engineers shared their food rations with hungry children. Everyone worked together to help as many people as possible survive. Lieutenant Amy Carter, the pilot of Defiance, had not slept in 20 hours. She kept flying shuttles up and down between the ships and the colony, carrying load after load of evacuees. Her hands shook from exhaustion, but she kept flying. How many more trips? She asked Ryan over the radio. As many as it takes, Ryan replied. We don't leave anyone behind if we can help it. But the numbers were not working. Even with all the modifications and sacrifices, the 3 ships could only carry 2,800 people. 153 colonists would have to stay behind and die in the solar flare. Commander Morrison was one of the people staying. As the leader of New Haven Colony, he felt responsible for everyone who lived there. If some people had to die, he would die with them. You can't stay, Dr. Cooper told him. Your death won't help anyone. My life won't help the people we're leaving behind, Morrison replied. This is my colony. These are my people. I'm not abandoning them. Ryan Davis faced an impossible choice. His ships were so overloaded that they could barely fly. Taking on more people might cause all the ships to fail, killing everyone. But leaving people behind to die felt wrong. The solar flare was getting stronger. Energy readings from the star showed it would peak in less than 6 hours. If they were going to save anyone, the human ships had to leave soon. Final loading in 1 hour, Ryan announced. After that, we have to go. The last hour was heartbreaking. Families were torn apart as some members got seats on the ships while others had to stay behind. Parents said goodbye to children they might never see again. Husbands and wives held each other one last time before the evacuation shuttles took the lucky ones to safety. But even in that dark moment, humanity showed its true nature. Many of the people who had seats on the ships gave them up for others. Young adults gave their places to elderly colonists. Single people stepped aside so families could stay together. The crew members of the human ships volunteered to stay behind so more colonists could be saved. In the end, 2,847 people made it aboard the 3 human ships. 153 remained on New Haven Colony, waiting to die when the solar flare hit. As the ships prepared to leave, Captain Davis made a decision that surprised everyone. He ordered Liberty Bell and Pioneer to start their journey to safety immediately, but Defiance would stay behind. "We're not leaving," Ryan told his crew. "There are still people down there." Captain Ryan Davis watched Liberty Bell and Pioneer disappear into hyperspace, carrying 2,800 survivors to safety. His ship Defiance remained in orbit around New Haven Colony, with 153 people still trapped on the surface. The solar flare would hit in less than 4 hours. "Captain, you need to see this," said Lieutenant Danny Walsh from his sensor station. "I'm picking up new ships approaching the system." Multiple contacts. Ryan felt his heart jump. More alien ships? Had someone finally decided to help them? He looked at the display and saw 5 new contacts coming out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. "Can you identify them?" Ryan asked. Danny worked his controls and enhanced the sensor readings. "They're human ships, Captain. I'm reading fusion drive signatures and Earth standard communication frequencies." Ryan could not believe what he was hearing. More human ships? Out here in the middle of nowhere? The first ship to arrive was a big cargo hauler called Hometown. Its captain was Bill Tucker, an old freight runner who had been moving supplies between colonies for 30 years. His ship was slow and ugly, but it had huge cargo holds that could carry hundreds of people. "Defiance, this is Captain Tucker of Hometown," came the radio message. "We heard the distress call from New Haven Colony. Are there still people who need evacuating?" 153 people still on the surface, and Ryan replied. "But the solar flare hits in 4 hours. You might not have time to get them all." "We'll make time," Tucker said simply. The second ship was New York, a mining vessel commanded by Captain Helen Moore. Her ship was designed to work in dangerous asteroid fields and had heavy shielding that might protect it from solar radiation. The third ship was a passenger liner called Freedom under Captain Nick Thompson. It was small but fast and built to carry people safely between star systems. More ships kept arriving. A research vessel called Discovery with Captain Joe Martinez, a military patrol boat named Eagle under Captain Lisa Roberts. Each ship brought the same message. They had heard the distress call and come to help. Ryan realized what was happening. These ships had not been together when they received the original message from New Haven Colony. They were scattered across dozens of different star systems, doing different jobs, following different missions. But when they heard that humans were in danger, they all dropped everything and came running. "How did you all get here so fast?" Ryan asked over the radio. Captain Tucker answered for all of them. "We heard the call for help yesterday. Every human ship within 6 days' travel got the message. We all came as soon as we could. 7 human ships now orbited New Haven Colony. Together, they had enough space to evacuate everyone left on the surface. But there was still the problem of time. The solar flare was building to dangerous levels, and they had less than 4 hours to get everyone off the planet. "We need a plan," said Captain Moore from New York. "That solar storm is going to be bad, really bad. Our ships might not survive it." Ryan looked at the energy readings from the star. The solar flare would be 10 times stronger than anything their ships were designed to handle. Even with their best shields, they would take massive damage. "We do this fast and we do it together," Ryan said. "All ships begin immediate evacuation. Load everyone you can carry and get out of the system before the flare peaks." The evacuation began immediately. Every ship sent down shuttles and cargo pods to pick up the remaining colonists. Commander Morrison had refused to leave his post, but now he watched in amazement as ship after ship arrived to save his people. "I don't understand," Morrison said to Dr. Cooper. "These captains don't know us. They've never been to New Haven before. Why are they risking their lives for strangers?" Dr. Cooper watched the shuttles flying back and forth between the ships and the colony. "Because we're human," he said simply. "That's enough for them." The evacuation went faster than anyone expected. The human captains worked together like they had been planning this mission for months. They shared information about the solar storm, coordinated their shuttle flights, and helped each other solve problems as they came up. Captain Tucker's ship Hometown had the biggest cargo holds, so he took the largest groups of colonists. Captain Moore's mining ship New York had the strongest shields, so she positioned her vessel to protect the other ships from solar radiation. Captain Thompson's passenger liner Freedom was the fastest, so he ferried people between the colony and the other ships. As the evacuation continued, the solar flare grew stronger. Energy readings spiked higher and higher as the star prepared to release its deadly burst. The human ships pushed their engines and life support systems to dangerous limits, but they kept working. "Radiation levels are climbing fast," reported Amy Carter from her position at the pilot station. "We have maybe 2 hours before it gets too dangerous to stay in the system." Ryan watched the evacuation progress on his screens. They had rescued over 100 people already, but there were still dozens more on the surface. Time was running out. "All ships, this is Davis," Ryan said over the radio. "We need to speed this up. The star is getting ready to blow." The human captains responded by taking even bigger risks. They overloaded their shuttles with more people than was safe. They flew faster and more dangerously than their training recommended. They pushed every system on their ships past the red line. Captain Roberts from the military patrol boat Eagle volunteered for the most dangerous job. Her ship was small and fast, so she flew it directly into the upper atmosphere of New Haven's moon to pick up people from landing sites that were too dangerous for the bigger shuttles. "Eagle, your radiation exposure is getting critical," Ryan warned her. "I can handle it," Roberts replied. "Just a few more runs." With 1 hour left before the solar flare peaked, they had evacuated everyone except Commander Morrison and a handful of volunteers who were helping with the final loading. Morrison had finally agreed to leave, but only after every other person on New Haven was safely aboard one of the rescue ships. "Last shuttle loading now," reported Captain Martinez from Discovery. "We'll have everyone off the surface in 15 minutes, but the star had other plans." Without warning, the solar activity spiked dramatically. The flare was starting early. "All ships, emergency departure," Ryan ordered. "The flare is beginning. Everyone get to minimum safe distance immediately." The human ships scrambled to escape the system as fast as their engines could push them. But they were too close to the star and moving too slowly. The deadly radiation burst would catch them before they could reach safety. "Shields up," Ryan ordered. "All ships prepare for solar flare impact." The blast hit them 3 minutes later. A wave of deadly energy washed over the 7 human ships, overloading their shields and damaging their hulls. Sparks flew from control panels as electrical systems failed. Emergency alarms sounded on every ship. On Defiance, the lights went out as the main power grid failed. Emergency lighting came on, casting everything in a red glow. Sam Parker worked frantically to keep the life support systems running as radiation poured through their damaged shields. "Hull breach on Deck 4, reported Amy Carter. "Sealing emergency bulkheads now." Similar reports came from all the other ships. New York lost her main engines. Freedom's navigation system was fried. Eagle was venting atmosphere from multiple hull punctures. But they were all still flying, and most importantly, everyone was alive. "Damage reports," Ryan called over the radio. One by one, the other captains reported their status. Every ship was hurt, some badly, but they were all still operational. And they had succeeded. Every person from New Haven Colony was now safely aboard one of the human rescue vessels. The solar flare continued for another 2 hours, but the human ships had made it to safe distance. They were damaged and limping, but they were alive. All of them. Every single colonist had been saved. The 7 human ships limped through space toward the nearest safe harbor. Every vessel had been damaged by the solar flare, and their crews worked around the clock to keep the ships running. But they were alive, all of them, and that was what mattered most. Captain Ryan Davis sat in the emergency command center of Defiance. The main bridge had been destroyed when the solar radiation overloaded the ship's electrical systems. Half the lights did not work, and the air recycling system made strange noises, but his ship was still flying. "Engineering report," Ryan called to Sam Parker. "Main engines are running at 60% power." Sam replied over the intercom. "Life support is holding, but we're recycling air for 3 times as many people as the system was designed for. We need to reach a safe port within 4 days or we'll run out of breathable air." The same problems existed on all the human ships. They had pushed their vessels far beyond safe operating limits to rescue the colonists, and now they were paying the price. Damaged hulls, failing life support systems, overloaded engines, broken navigation equipment. It was a miracle they were still flying at all. But the real miracle was how the crews were handling the crisis. Ryan watched his people work together with the rescued colonists in ways that amazed him. Engineer Tony Martinez from the mining ship New York had transferred to Defiance to help repair their damaged systems. Dr. Sarah Williams from Pioneer shared her medical supplies with all the ships. Navigation Officer Chris Lee from Eagle worked with 5 different ship computers to plot a safe course home. Captain Davis, this is Captain Tucker from Hometown, came a voice over the radio. My hyperdrive is acting up. The radiation scrambled some of the control circuits. Ryan looked at his own navigation display. They were still 3 days away from the nearest human colony. If Hometown could not jump to hyperspace, they would have to travel at normal speed, which would take weeks. None of their ships had enough life support for that long a journey. What do you need? Ryan asked. A tow, Tucker replied. If one of the other ships can pull me through hyperspace, I think I can make it. What Tucker was suggesting was incredibly dangerous. Towing a ship through hyperspace went against every rule of safe space travel. The gravitational forces could tear both ships apart, but it was their only choice. New York, this is Davis, Ryan called to Captain Moore. Your ship has the strongest engines. Can you tow Hometown? I can try, Moore replied. But if something goes wrong, we could lose both ships. We're all going to die if we don't try, Ryan said simply. The towing operation began 2 hours later. Captain Moore positioned New York in front of Hometown and extended massive steel cables between the 2 ships. The cables were designed for moving asteroids, not towing spaceships through hyperspace, but they were the strongest connection available. Everyone hold on, Moore announced. This is going to be rough. New York engaged its hyperdrive with Hometown attached behind it. The forces were incredible. Both ships shook and groaned as they were pulled through the twisted space between stars. Sparks flew from control panels and hull plates buckled under the stress. But it worked. Both ships emerged from hyperspace intact, though badly shaken. They had covered a day's worth of travel in just a few hours. The journey continued with all 7 ships helping each other survive. When Freedom's water recycling system failed, the other ships shared their water supplies. When Discovery lost its food processors, everyone rationed their meals so no one would starve. When Eagle's hull breach got worse, crews from other ships worked in dangerous conditions to patch the hole. Dr. Alan Cooper, the xenobiologist from New Haven Colony, watched everything with growing amazement. He had spent his career studying alien civilizations, and he had never seen anything like this. I need to tell you something, Cooper said to Commander Morrison as they sat in Defiance's makeshift medical bay. What happened back at New Haven, what these ships are doing now, it's not normal. Morrison looked confused. What do you mean? In 40 years of studying galactic civilizations, I have never seen anything like this rescue operation, Cooper explained. Advanced species don't risk everything to save strangers. They make careful calculations about cost and benefit. They act logically. Cooper pulled out a portable computer and showed Morrison data about other species' rescue operations. When the Zelanti evacuate a colony, they save the people who are most important to their society first. Scientists, engineers, government officials, the rest are left behind if there's not enough room. That sounds terrible, Morrison said. It's efficient, Cooper replied. The Korthak Empire has protocols for emergency situations. They save military personnel and valuable citizens first. Everyone else has to wait their turn. The Veil Consortium will only help if the people being rescued can pay them back. Morrison thought about this, but these human captains don't even know us. They've never been to New Haven before. They don't owe us anything. Exactly, Cooper said. That's what makes this so extraordinary. Look at what Captain Roberts did. She flew her ship into dangerous radiation to save people she had never met. She could have died, and for what? No profit, no political advantage, no benefit to herself at all. Cooper showed Morrison more data on his computer. Captain Tucker is risking his ship and crew to tow Hometown through hyperspace. Dr. Williams threw away years of research to make room for colonists. Every person on these ships is sharing their food and water and air with strangers. Maybe that's just what people do when others need help, Morrison suggested. Cooper shook his head. No, that's what humans do. Other species evolved past this kind of behavior long ago. They learned that helping strangers is inefficient and dangerous. It wastes resources and puts your own people at risk. Over the next 2 days, Cooper continued to observe the human crews. He saw Chief Engineer Kate Sullivan give her own rations to hungry colonist children. He watched pilot Amy Carter work 36 hours straight to keep the navigation systems running. He observed crews from different ships working together as if they had known each other for years. They're not acting rationally, Cooper told Morrison. From a logical standpoint, These captains should have saved as many people as they could carry and left the rest behind. They should not be sharing resources with strangers. They should not be risking their ships to help each other. But they are doing all those things, Morrison pointed out. Yes, and that's what makes humanity unique in the galaxy, Cooper said. Every other advanced species has outgrown the instinct to help people they don't know. They call it inefficient, primitive, a waste of resources. Cooper looked around at the damaged ship filled with rescued colonists. But maybe they're wrong. Maybe what they call primitive is actually the most advanced thing of all. The journey to safety took 4 days. When they finally reached the human colony of New Perth, all 7 ships were barely holding together. But everyone was alive. All 3,000 colonists from New Haven had been saved, along with all the crew members from the rescue ships. The story of the New Haven rescue spread quickly through human space. People heard about 7 ships that had come from different corners of the galaxy to save strangers. They heard about crews who had risked everything, shared everything, sacrificed everything to help people they had never met. But the story also reached alien ears. Species throughout the galaxy began to ask questions about humanity's strange behavior. Why had these humans acted so irrationally? Why had they risked so much for people who could give them nothing in return? The aliens found humanity's actions puzzling and inefficient, but they also noticed something else. Human space had become the safest region of the galaxy. Crime rates were low. Trade was stable. Agreements were honored even when circumstances changed. In a galaxy where every species looked out only for themselves, humanity had found a different path. They helped because someone needed help. They saved lives because lives were worth saving. They answered distress calls because that was the right thing to do. And slowly the galaxy began to realize that maybe humanity's primitive instincts were not so primitive after all. 6 months after the New Haven rescue, Ambassador Robert Kim walked into the Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime. The massive chamber could hold representatives from 1,000 different worlds. Today it was packed with delegates from every major civilization in the galaxy. Robert was not here to ask for favors or trade deals. He was here because the galaxy's most powerful species were worried about humanity's strange behavior. The rescue at New Haven had been just the beginning. Since that day, human ships had responded to 17 more emergency calls across the galaxy. They had saved a Zelanti research station when its planet started to collapse. They had rescued Korthak soldiers from a pirate attack, even though the Korthak Empire had refused to help at New Haven. They had even pulled a Veil Consortium trade convoy out of a black hole's gravity well, despite the fact that the mysterious Veil had never acknowledged human existence before. Each rescue followed the same pattern. Humans dropped everything to help strangers. They risked their lives and ships for people who could give them nothing in return. They refused payment and asked for no political favors. They helped because someone needed help, and that was reason enough. The galaxy did not understand this behavior. Advanced civilizations made careful calculations before taking action. They weighed costs against benefits. They helped their allies and ignored their enemies. They acted rationally and efficiently. Humanity did none of these things. They helped everyone who asked, regardless of politics or profit. By galactic standards, their behavior made no sense at all. High Chancellor Vex Krim of the Zelanti Federation stood up to address the assembly. The Zelanti were one of the oldest and most respected species in the galaxy. When they spoke, everyone listened. "We have called this meeting to discuss the human problem," Vex Krim announced. "In the past 6 months, human vessels have interfered in 43 separate situations across known space. Their actions are economically unsustainable and strategically incomprehensible." Murmurs of agreement came from around the chamber. The Korthak representative nodded his massive head. The Rigel Trade Consortium delegates whispered to each other in their clicking language. Even the normally silent Veil Consortium had sent someone to this meeting. "Yet we must acknowledge," Vex Krim continued, "that human intervention has been remarkably effective. Trade routes through human space have become the safest in the galaxy. Piracy has dropped to almost nothing in sectors where humans patrol. Colonial disputes are resolved peacefully when humans mediate. This was true and everyone knew it. Human space had become an island of stability in a galaxy full of conflict and competition. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together in regions where humans had influence. "We need to understand why they do this," said General Thokmar of the Korthak Empire. His scarred face showed the confusion that many species felt about human behavior. What do they gain from helping strangers? What is their hidden agenda? Robert Kim stood up from his seat. All eyes in the massive chamber turned to look at the human ambassador. He was a small figure compared to the towering aliens around him, but his voice carried clearly through the hall. There is no hidden agenda, Robert said simply. We help because someone needs help. We save lives because lives are worth saving. We answer distress calls because it's the right thing to do. The chamber fell silent. The concept of acting purely because something was right, rather than profitable, was alien to most of the galaxy's advanced civilizations. They had evolved beyond such inefficient moral compulsions long ago, but why? Asked Trade Minister Zekval of the Rigel Consortium. What benefit do you receive? How do you justify the resource expenditure to your people? Robert thought about how to explain this to beings who had forgotten what it meant to help, without expecting something in return. Imagine your child was drowning, he said. Would you calculate the cost of jumping in the water to save them? Would you weigh the risks against the benefits? Or would you just jump? Of course I would save my child, Zekval replied. But these are not your children. These are strangers from different species who offer you nothing. To us, that doesn't matter, Robert said. When someone is drowning, we jump. We don't ask who they are or what they can give us. We help because that's who we are. The Veil Consortium representative spoke for the first time. The mysterious being's voice was like whispers in the dark. Your species acts on primitive emotional impulses that we eliminated from our psychology millennia ago. Yet your society thrives while ours stagnate. How do you explain this paradox? Robert looked around the great chamber at hundreds of alien faces. Some showed confusion, others concern, a few showed something that might have been envy. Maybe what you call primitive is actually advanced, Robert suggested. Maybe caring about strangers isn't a weakness. Maybe it's the strongest thing a species can do. He walked to the center of the chamber so everyone could see him. You ask what we gain from helping others. Look around you. This is the first time in galactic history that so many species have gathered peacefully in one place. Trade is booming. Wars are ending. Colonies are thriving. That has nothing to do with your rescue missions, protested Chancellor Vex Krim, doesn't it? Robert asked. When the Zelanti research station was in danger, we saved it. Now Zelanti scientists share their discoveries with human colonies. When Korthak soldiers were attacked by pirates, we fought beside them. Now the Korthak patrol trade routes with our ships. Robert gestured to the assembled delegates. Every species in this room has been helped by humanity at some point. Not because we wanted something from you, but because you needed help. And now, for the first time in galactic history, former enemies are working together. The truth of his words was evident in the chamber itself. Zelanti delegates sat next to Korthak representatives. Rigel traders shared data with Veil operatives. Species that had fought each other for centuries were now cooperating because they all trusted humanity to treat them fairly. Your irrational behavior has created something no civilization has achieved before, continued a new voice. Dr. Mary Williams, now promoted to Director of Human Colonial Affairs, had joined the assembly. You've created peace through compassion. She displayed holographic charts showing galactic conflict statistics. Violence between species has dropped by 60% in regions with human presence. Trade disputes are resolved through mediation instead of war. Colonial expansion proceeds without the resource wars that plagued previous centuries. This cannot last, argued General Thokmar. Your species will eventually learn that helping strangers is inefficient. You will develop the same rational approaches that guide advanced civilizations. Robert shook his head. We've been spacefaring for over 200 years now. We've met dozens of species, learned from advanced technologies, built colonies across the galaxy. But we still answer every distress call. We still risk everything to save strangers. That part of us hasn't changed. And it never will, added Captain Ryan Davis, who had been promoted to Admiral after the New Haven rescue. Yesterday we received another distress call. A mining operation at the edge of known space. Their equipment failed and they're trapped. 3 different species have ships closer to them than we do, but none of them are responding. And what will you do? Asked Chancellor Vex Krim, though they already knew the answer. We're already on our way, Admiral Davis replied. 3 ships changed course as soon as we got the message. We'll be there in 36 hours. The chamber buzzed with conversation as the implications sank in. Here was humanity again, dropping everything to help strangers who could offer them nothing. It made no economic sense, served no strategic purpose, violated every principle of rational civilized behavior. And yet it worked. Somehow, impossibly, it worked. As the assembly ended and delegates filed out of the chamber, many of them were thinking the same thing. They had spent millennia evolving beyond primitive emotional responses like compassion and altruism. They had become rational, efficient, advanced. But in a cold, calculating universe, they had also become isolated and alone. Only humanity still carried that dangerous, beautiful instinct to answer every cry for help. And in the vast darkness between stars, that made all the difference.